What's up, guys? Compound Coalition video. We've got a ton of people on site, and I'm just so lucky to be able to get these guys to come in here and talk to me for a few minutes. Mike Shelby from Forward Observer is, I think he is the only person actually that I personally requested come to this event this time. I'm a fan of his on YouTube. Always awesome information. Some of it will always be direct actionable to you, and if it's not, he will tell you how to make that directly actionable. This is it's not the guns and the gadgets and the shiny stuff. It's the shit that you can implement into every life and form and build your life around. So thank you for sitting down with us, and we're just going to talk, man. And it doesn't even have to be your thing. We can literally talk just about anything. I like to get dudes in and not talk. I like to have Chris Costa in here and talk and not talk any gun shit. So okay. Tell me something I don't know and tell people a little bit about you and why they should listen to you.
Something you don't know. I was a fly fishing guide.
I did not. I have a ton of dudes here that love to fly fish.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of fly fishing country for the East Coast.
Yeah, the Connie River, Caney. Yeah.
I left my last job in the intelligence community and just wanted something different. I'm tired of being in the windowless office, and moved out to Wyoming and was a fly fishing guide for a couple of years and lived out there. And then just there was too much draw. Like I like intelligence work too much, and so I said, I'm not going back to work for the government or anybody, so I'm going to just start my own thing. And we're going to do the same exact job I was doing in Iraq or Afghanistan or, stateside, but we're going to do it for a different customer. And so, I got into preparedness, concerned about the future, things I was seeing in the country and around the world going on. And I just said, look, we need timely information so we can make better decisions about the future. And the better job we can do kind of understanding the strategic picture, the better projects we can set in motion today so that in 6 or 12 months or 2 to 5 years, we'll be able to meet those challenges and, we're there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have an app or anything or how did they just watch your content? What would it take to put an app together? Like, hey, these are the things that should be on their radar, and maybe like by geographic location or abroad. Like if you're going out of the country, hey, I should check this app, or hey, I live within this distance of this nuclear facility, or the wind patterns, or there's nothing out there like that I know of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so there are kind of crowdsourced crime information apps. Ring has a thing, and there's Neighbors and Nextdoor and all, a lot of other apps. So, the question is, can we make something better? And, I don't have enough money to make anything
Understood.
better. And I also don't have the inclination.
Would you ever put a ring on your house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Is TikTok the evil giant that everybody says it is?
It's probably no more evil than, say, Google or Facebook.
Yep. I'm not worried about China knocking on my door.
Well, I would say the only thing that makes TikTok unique, and lots of people talk about this, is what they're doing with that information, kind of the information operations. And, lots of people have talked about what American kids get served on TikTok versus what Chinese
Correct.
kids get served.
Yeah.
So I would say, that is probably the most nefarious thing about that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. On the other hand, I use a hashtag on Instagram that might have 40,000 views or uses, and I use the exact same one on TikTok, and it's got 4 million. Mm-hmm. Now, could be complete horseshit. Who knows? I mean, we don't know what they're really feeding us, but I do get a different group of people, and we can convert some of them into our groups and convert them into customers at some point, or have some kind of conversation with new people. Most of the conspiracy theories out there real?
A growing number of them look to be real.
I'll say that. Fleshing out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I would throw them out there, and you would kind of be the more voice of reason. Like, okay, maybe, but here's why maybe it's not. Mm. And I've kind of got that from listening to some of the content, things that I had thought, and you had another interaction. I'm like, oh, that's definitely something that I did not take into consideration. So I think it was you that I heard say, if you want to understand kind of the temperature of crime and things in your area, local level law enforcement posts some kind of list of petty crimes and unsolved crimes in the area, and that's kind of a good litmus test as to what's going on in your environment, where would somebody find that? Like, who doesn't know where to get that? Where would you go to look for that kind of information?
Well, I would start at I would just call the local police department or sheriff's office and say, hey, when you put out public information, what are your channels?
Right.
And then, but also I wouldn't just use that. I mean, people should go through a Citizens Police Academy, go on a ride along with, if their local PD offers that, and don't go on a Tuesday afternoon. Go on a Friday, Saturday morning at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. When they're chasing naked people down the road. And that's actually a true story. Go when the zoo animals come out, because you're going to get to see a part of your area and your neighborhood community that, you probably don't see, and really ask a lot of questions and interact with that law enforcement officer. And I would say, maybe you can't do this in every area, because not every area has solid law enforcement. And that's just a reality. Mm-hmm. But if your area does have, a constitutional sheriff, or pretty good police officers who believe in the Bill of Rights, then I say, yeah, saddle up and see how you can support them in most cases. And then if they start doing things that you think are unethical, or they start violating the Bill of Rights, then withdraw your support. And that's part of the community effort that, I think we really need. That's stuff that not specifically with law enforcement, but that's the kind of activity that the left does that the right needs to start doing.
You really got me thinking when you said you need to get into local level politics, because I don't want to fucking get into local level politics. But when you said that, I'm like, I should run for mayor. And I didn't fucking mean that in any fucking string of my body did I think I was going to run for mayor. And I don't even think that I can, with prior felony and stuff, run for mayor. But we are getting involved in local level politics. And I don't want to. I want to just stay up here at the end of my driveway and people like, we didn't know you were here. That's on purpose. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you have said things, and I know they fucking actually affect my life, those seeds you plant. So I know that that's happening with other people too. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. You said, do the ride along with the law enforcement. Walk me down off this ledge if you think that it's not correct. I think when you said, if the department is not, upholding the real laws and stuff, I think a lot of that stuff during COVID was actually by design, right? It was to who is most likely not to take the experiment. Also the oath keepers, people who are, took the oath to uphold the Constitution and follow the real laws. And I think that, and maybe it wasn't on purpose, but it was definitely a side effect of those people when they pushed them out for not taking the vaccination. Those dudes that had been on the job, the real dudes that kind of set the temperature of those departments, they were pushed out of the force. They retired, early retirement, pushed off altogether. And now we hire, Lightfoot's a good example, Chicago, right? We took all of the real dudes that were on the job, and they are no longer working for law enforcement in Chicago. Well, who did we hire? The dudes that were willing to just go along and do what they were told to do. And I feel like that is very dangerous. I feel like that has really changed the dynamic there. And you just have people that are just going to, I was just doing what I was told. Did you know they were fucking gas chambering all? We were just, I had to feed my family. And I feel that is maybe not on, I feel like it was just by design at some point.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, there's no perfect solution, and every situation is different. So, the things that I say, they work for me in Central Texas, and they may not work for people who live, obviously not in Chicago or other places. But, I would say, those deputies that are still on, or the police officers who are still on, they have homes and wives or husbands and kids. They're members of the community, and we have to bring back the power of community and bring back the power of ostracization, because, that's what worked in the past. I mean, you look at tribal concept, this small village. Yeah, if you didn't go along with the village, or you weren't a good tribe member, they just kick your ass out
or stone you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they might do that too. But what is the 21st century equivalent of that? Let's bring back that community, because there is a massive amount of social power in having a tight-knit community.
Yeah. Do you believe people should stay within the community and try to change the direction of the community? At what point is it a failed attempt or should you go someplace where the community aligns with how you want to raise your family, right? And a lot of people are like, well, I'm not a quitter. You also have spent the last 20 of your years in action and not, it's a sinking ship. At what point do we need to get off of that ship?
Mm-hmm. Well, network or, tribe or whatever you want to call it, that is one of the most mission critical and strategic advantages anyone can have, a deep network where you live. And that's, from an intel guy's perspective, those people have access to information that they can pass back. And so I think having a deep, interconnected network locally is going to allow us to look for problems in the community. And, if you can build that in your community, if you are, a part of the ideological majority, obviously that's going to be a lot easier. When you can go out and you can put out a message and you can get people riled up and agitated about local issues, drag queen story hour, or, whatever's happening in local government, Californians moving in and trying to, rewrite laws to, do whatever. And so being able to community organize is super important, and we just have to face facts. The left does this very well. That's why they're moving their ideologies from big cities into more rural areas. The past 20, 30 plus, my entire lifetime has been failed conservative strategies. And, it's like, do you want to win or do you want to lose? Because if we keep doing the same thing we're doing, hunkering down and saying, oh, pray to God, nobody bothers me. Conservative, I just want to be left alone. That's why we're losing, I think.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. So tell people what a area survey is.
Yeah, so we call them an area study, but it's based off the Army's IPB, intelligence preparation of the battlefield process. And, I use that as a framework because it works. It worked well in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's not perfect. But all I've done is modified it and kind of made a civilian or community version of that, or intelligence preparation of the community. And so we look at what's called our operational environment. It's the human terrain, the physical terrain, politics, law enforcement, all the things that are out there. We call them terrain features. And so we look at all the terrain features of our operating environment, and we say, this is positively affecting us. We need to strengthen this. This is negatively affecting us. This is a risk or a potential threat. We need to mitigate this risk or respond or counteract this threat. And then this is a neutral factor. And the question is, how do we turn those neutral factors into positive factors? And that's how you start to build strategic advantages locally. The area study is the basis of all operational planning. It is the basis of all community security planning, emergency preparedness. And if you're not doing an area study, you're putting the cart before the horse, because you're not examining an area like you do an area study to have an operational understanding of your area, and that's not just guns and ammo. I mean, it's inform and influence. It's political, social, economic power that you're trying to build. But the area study really informs you of what you should be preparing for, and then the assets and opportunities you have in your area to capitalize on.
Right. How in depth does that have to go? How much time should that? I liken that to we're gonna buy this awesome piece of property, and we look at it in the summer, but when the leaves fall off, we realize there's a sewage treatment plant or something, or there's an off-gassing every 30 days, or you move into some place and it's this awesome place, but there's a fucking train that comes by at midnight every night, and you haven't ever been there at midnight. Or where's materials at, right? If we ever need these, where are the fruit trees? Where is the railway? Where is the water sources? When does the water dry up? How would you go about gathering that information?
A lot of it's available online. There's just a massive amount of information that's available for free, and it's free today, and it may not be free tomorrow. It may not be there tomorrow. So that's kind of the low-hanging fruit, the probably primary method. But you got to talk to the locals. It's better if you know someone in the area who can give you an insight that you can't find on Google. It's not going to be in some government, database somewhere. And there's other ways too. I mean, hop on Google Earth and just look, make sure the imagery is recent, but just look and see, what's out there. And then, do a drive through the area, go for a walk, around the neighborhood. And, it's all about information gathering. The more information we have, the better intelligence we can produce. So, really it's open source stuff you can find online, and then talking to locals.
Right. So what do you think what would you list as the three biggest threats to the average man in the United States right now? Because I mean, we're being fed Putin, and a lot of we just can't control it. I mean, there's literally zero we can do about it, and short of relocation, there's not anything you're going to do to prepare for it either. So what actually is out there that people should be paying attention to instead of top three headline, news things?
Well, their neighbors, number one, just the proximity of people. That's, if you can organize your neighbors, great. Not everyone's in a position to do that because they're in some ideological minority, or they're an out group as opposed to an in group. And that's number one. And, and not a lot of people realize this, but, Californians or New Yorkers or whoever moving to Appalachia, they're moving into these areas where if your last name is not 5 or 7, 10 generations deep, it's like, dude, you may as well be from China,
Yeah. That's what they say. I got a buddy, and he's been here 35 years. Like, until your great grandparents are from here, you're not from here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that mindset is just they're dying out as the people, age out. But yeah, a lot of people have this idea that they're going to come here. You see it in the small community groups on Facebook. We've got a locals type page, and it's always funny. They're like, how come we don't have bowling alleys? How come we don't have, I'm like, that's a perfect idea. You should start a hardware store. Mm-hmm. I go, because you don't get to vote. If it's not your money, you don't get to say what happens with the money, but they do. And I go, how did you get here? Did you just throw a dart? And then some of them are like, yeah, kind of. They came here because it's super, super inexpensive, or was. And then they come here and they want all these amenities and these programs and shit. Well, did you not come and look to see what was here before you came here? And then they're just yipping the loudest. And then you're right, man. I don't want to go to the courthouse and show up and be amongst them. And I don't want, like, I do just stay to myself. And that's my, it's us, right? I'm not over talking to Bundy over here going, hey, we need to go to this thing. And I did. When you said that, it planted a seed, man. What else you got?
Yeah, I'd say after that is, probably the economic, financial, and monetary conditions in the country. And, that's lack of opportunity. It's lack of employment opportunities. And so your money's being debased. Your economic opportunities are being taken away from you through bad, fiscal policies. And then, with a financial crisis, like your money is not only being debased, it may be just taken from you. And so, I would say that's kind of like a longer term strategic threat. It's nothing new. It's a lot more urgent, being that we are very likely to be in a recession by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And more people are going to lose their jobs. There's going to be a lot more hardship. That's going to change the human terrain of an area. It's going to change the economic and financial terrain of an area. And, those are the things that we need to be anticipating now, because there's still time to prepare for that, that stuff.
What would you tell people to do? Like, most people, like, there's going to be a run on the banks. A lot of people's having the conversation, they don't have $1,000 in the bank anyways. It's not going to change much for them. What would you tell people to do to prepare for that?
Well, this is the area I'm probably least qualified to answer, but let's start with Maslow's hierarchy, right? I mean, food and water, security, and people. And so, put it in a garden, or do a commute. If you don't have enough room, find somebody in your network that has an acre, their house is on 3 acres, and start a big garden and get people involved, and then start a network for information sharing. And I say information sharing, it's not just like sharing necessarily crime information. Like, we have a big Signal chat, like our network where I live, and people are like, oh yeah, there's whatever, the chicken feed is back in at Ace Hardware or at TSC or whatever, and it's small. People, oh, we got a guy in the group, and he back during the ammo shortages, he went to Academy every day and checked. He's like, oh, they got 308 in, they got 9 milli, and they don't have this caliber in. And it's like, well, if you need to go pick up some more ammo, there you go. Here's your opportunity. You got a piece of information now. And so really starting a network, I think, is the one of the greatest things you can do, but it takes time to build. So, start now.
How would you tell people the most reliable form of communication is for that, for instance? Would you tell them to use Signal?
I think Signal is safer than, say, a phone call or just a regular SMS text message.
Okay.
I wouldn't put anything on Signal that's going to land me in jail.
Right.
But as a general, more secure option, Yeah, I think Signal's
for the
good.
normal Joe, because my feeling is, hey, this is the feds can't read this. Well, fucking clearly the feds made it then.
Well,
If that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's true, but and it may be. I mean, look at all the stuff that CIA's been involved in, with Facebook and all these other things. Well, and just on that, if there had been Facebook use in Iraq and Afghanistan as ubiquitous as it is in the United States, like that whole process would have taken 3 to 6 months. Just being able to map everybody out and knowing who's who and who knows who and where they are, and so I think that's a huge danger area for the average person. Just they know so much about you if they want to start looking into it. But beyond that, Signal. Anytime. Sometimes I'll go back and read these affidavits of people who get arrested, like in patriot groups and stuff. And what you almost always find is like, it's not FBI or NSA or whoever cracking the encryption on Signal. It's like they got access to somebody's phone and they read the last 18 months of chat history on that thing. So your Signal app, yeah, it's encrypted, but it's only as secure as all the access points. And if the access points are compromised, then that's it.
Just scan somebody, turn it on. Mm-hmm. What are they arresting those guys for?
Oh, I mean, the Capitol, they got the Capitol thing.
January 6th stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think did we win Iraq?
Iran controls large portions of Iraq. We lost.
Did we win Afghanistan?
The Taliban are back in control like nothing ever happened. So.
And that is, do you think we could have won?
I don't know. I don't think we could. I think the cultural barriers were too high.
Okay. Were we hindered by politics?
Absolutely.
Things could have gone very different.
Absolutely.
What do you think? What's the one thing you would change? Were you in Afghanistan?
I was.
What's the one thing you would change, having seen it? What if king for a day? What would you do, and what difference would that make?
Well, I mean, almost all insurgencies end with some kind of stalemate or political agreement, and you look at the amount of IEDs, the amount of Taliban activity, and the growth of the Taliban. As the U.S. footprint expanded, so did people joining the Taliban. And so, I think it's like, get your objective, I don't know, kill bin Laden or whatever, and then just be like, hey, our job's done. Like, we're not trying to remake Afghanistan to thousands of years of tribal culture into like some, supreme democracy of Southwest Asia. Have a winnable mission, get that done, and then say, I mean, leave your intelligence guys in, sure, but other than and special operations guys in, but other than that, we don't need to be sending the 82nd to Kandahar or wherever.
Right. What do you think we went into Iraq for? Like the real reason.
I mean, the neoconservative, kind of globalist remake the Middle East and. Try to remake the Middle East.
Industrial military complex profits and
oil and Middle East stability is good for low oil prices, but knocking down Saddam Hussein and then removing a massive counterweight to Iran was, in hindsight, strategically not very wise.
What do you think about this peace treaty between the Sunnis and the Shiites that's happening right now?
It's big, very big.
Not a good thing for us.
No, not at all. I mean, we have left, Iraq and other parts of the Middle East. China's coming in and filling that void. And
is that Belt and Road?
It's Belt and Road. It's BRICS plus. That and even the Chinese, the Russians, and the Iranians just got done with another naval exercise in the Gulf of Oman. So China's over there. They're going to put a naval base somewhere over there,
or build some more landmass.
And the United States is in an unwinnable position. We cannot be everywhere all the time, and so we're just one of those realism things. It's like, well, we got to pick our battles. We got to pick our priorities, and that should probably start in the Western Hemisphere, not in the Middle East or Southeast Asia. Well,
you have Department of Defense right now saying prepare for war. We're going to war with China in 25. I mean, Are we going to war? I mean, I haven't seen it on The Simpsons yet, but I mean, are we going to war with China in the 25?
I think that is the overwhelming expectation. it could happen sooner, but that's the kind of penciled in on my calendar date.
What do you think an insurgency in the United States would look like?
Oh God, it'd a mess. Well, it kind of depends where. If it's a localized insurgency, or if it's more of a national, regional versus national. Local and regional, I think we will see that. National, it's in North Alabama or Middle Tennessee. It's not going to be the same as, Northern California or, Central Oregon or, wherever else. Really where those big blue-red divides are. And the deeper and stronger those are, the more potential there is. So a localized insurgency would be very disruptive to the local people, unless it's in a big commercial hub, like if it's in a port city or, somewhere like Memphis where it disrupts FedEx or something like that. I don't know. That's a big question to answer, but, just generally the question is exactly what kind of conflict are we talking about?
Right.
Who is on which, who are the belligerents and what are their goals? I mean, are they trying to topple a state government? Are they trying to bring the whole thing down? So,
what's the definition of insurgent?
Well, an insurgency is an armed struggle to overthrow a government or you become the government. But there are lots of forms of low intensity conflict that aren't necessarily armed violent struggles. There's a popular revolution, which we saw in the summer of 2020. Was Portland an insurgency?
Well, I think was Atlanta just an insurgency?
I mean. Right. Yeah, so I would say those. I called Portland in the summer of 2020 a proto-insurgency.
Who do you think was funding all that?
I think there was an element of self-funding. I think a lot of those guys scrapped together what kit they could on the lower levels. But, that's not to say that a foreign government or, domestic NGOs aren't funneling money through protest groups, and that's trickling down to those guys.
Who do you think pulls those strings? Is it a money guys in the United States, or is it actually China funneling, or do you think it's something? What do you think that is?
Well, it's tough for me to say, not having any access to, financial data. Somebody knows.
Right.
Somebody does know.
So we could cut the head off the snake if it was desired at some point. Somebody could. Not us, but big government.
Potentially, if it's funded by a foreign government, they're just going to find non-traditional ways, it's going to be through, cryptocurrency or just straight cash or, however, running, what do they say? Like 1% of all container ships or something like that in the United States actually get searched or scanned or whatever. So there's no telling what's coming in the country. There's no telling what's coming across the border.
Right.
So yeah, if you're
willingly being allowed across the border.
Sure. Yeah. So if you have nation state type power, you're going to be able to do what you want in a, pretty permissive country. Most of the United States is.
Is it possible that there are sleeper cells inside the United States, for instance, like from 100%. China, and they're just here living normal lives, just waiting to be activated, or
100%? There are, we've heard from members of Congress, like on the House Intel Committee, there are more spies in the United States today than at the height of the Cold War, and this is 96 Bravo intuition, but let's go ahead and just add. Probably not just foreign intelligence services, but foreign special operations personnel in the United States. Absolutely. I can't prove it, but you got to be missing a couple brain cells if you at least say it's not a possibility, but it's far beyond a possibility.
If you were to guess, what would the number be? Wild ass guess.
Well, it kind of depends what their mission is, but in the hundreds, I would not be surprised. You can do someone with nation state training. 2 to 4, 6, 10 dudes. You can do a lot of sabotage here with not a lot of guys.
Do you think that's actively happening?
Could be. That Freeport liquid natural gas terminal outside of Houston, Texas. That the FBI came out and said that was not foreign meddling. The Russians didn't do that. I'm not saying. I'm very doubtful when I see things like that have a geopolitical impact, that it's not some foreign country doing that.
Can they burn plants down now just because of the internet? Can we do that to them? Can they do that to us, or does it have to be boots on the ground to have that happen?
The most effective are going to have dual. There's going to be some cyber element, but there's going to be some internal physical element, penetration or some kind of physical access as well. And, I don't want people to take my word for this. The Army came out in December 2020, and they did a facility security report, and they said foreign adversaries, they don't name anyone by name, but, pick the big guys on the map. They're going to target critical infrastructure in the United States. They say using conventional or unconventional means. They talk about targeting military personnel or families of military personnel, target soft, obviously soft targets, and then strategic and symbolic targets like military bases or, something that has like, cultural or moral value.
Do you think this, it was North Carolina where they cut the powers off for 10 days. You think that's what they said? It was just some goobers that were mad about the drag queen story hour? Or do you think it was something different?
I don't know. It could be the simplest explanation, but a big part of intelligence is like, let's consider the alternative. Let's come out with a list of everybody it could be, and then let's start looking for data points and facts and indicators that it could be someone else. So, like the Las Vegas thing, the shooting, there's stuff that we're not being told, and then it really makes you wonder, like, okay, well, why are we not being told?
Have you heard there was another shooting that took place simultaneously when the crowd shooting took place? One block up, one block over. The assassination attempt. You had not heard that?
I didn't follow it closely, but I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what's next for Mike?
Well, we do daily and monthly intelligence reports over at Fort Observer, but I'll tell you, I've been teaching some version of the tactical intelligence course since 2013, and I really, it's kind of past time to start working on solutions. So my message is pretty simple. You have to go into your community. You have to build political, social, and economic power. That's done through intelligence training. We've got a lot of other courses. All of our instructors are hitting the road this year. And, we're trying to put people through this, kind of through this pipeline that enables them to do that, to lead, a regional preparedness network. It's not a prepper group or a MAG. That's something completely different. But, start linking up people, community organizing. And if people can go do that on their own, great. If they want training from us, or if they want to read our blog or listen to the podcast, fantastic. I love talking about that stuff. But, that's how you win the future. And I've really enjoyed, being at the Self-Reliance Festival. It's been fantastic. I'd love to come back. And I really enjoyed being a student as well and hearing all the talks here. And, one thing that I see is like there's so much potential in this community if we can get these people beyond sustainment. Like, I got my food and water and my bug out bag and my, my guns and ammo. Okay, that's fine. That's going to get you in through tomorrow. That is not going to win the future. And so we have to push people into those kind of second layer solutions, operationalizing preparedness. And I'm not talking about, necessarily like war fighting, but informing and influencing your community organizing, building that political, social, and economic power. That's how you win.
Preventing the war.
Yeah. Potentially in a lot of places, absolutely.
Yeah. How many people strong is your group, your company, that your cadre and everybody? Forward Observer.
Well, Forward Observer, we have 6 full-time employees now, and then we have 4 instructors at Gray Zone Activity, our training company.
Gray Zone, okay. Mm-hmm. And where are you headquarters out of?
We're in Central Texas.
Okay.
Yep.
So if somebody wanted to have you come out and present for them and do a area survey, and that's available?
Yeah, we have done custom area studies for clients.
I keep saying survey.
No, it's okay.
Study. Yeah. I'll get it.
You can call it an area survey too. But I tell you, the best thing for us to do is for those people to work on their area study first, on their own or through coaching. I mean, we got videos, we got all sorts of stuff people can watch, and then let us take a look at the last mile. We're going to be able to look at this and say, well, you only have 2 groups listed in your human terrain. Like, are there really only 2 groups in your area? And then say, well, if there's more groups in your area, start going to those meetings. If not you, then send someone in your network to go to those meetings. Start rubbing elbows with those people. Look for like-minded individuals, and then work on bringing those people in your network. And so really kind of the last mile strategy on the area study, I think, is probably the most valuable.
Is there some stuff you could do remotely just off the internet and Google Earth and everything?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is that? If a guy comes to you and he's like, hey, I want to do this, and he's just not going to do it, what does that price tag look like?
Well, it kind of depends on the volume of information. You know, someone in downtown Chicago is going to be way different than someone in Cookeville, Tennessee. So, you know, those start at 750, and then they can go up to. I mean, we'll fly one of our guys out and do a site security survey, or you know, a TVA for $5,000. So it really kind of depends on your situation, or your budget, and exactly what you like, how in depth you want.
Are you full time busy, or you got room to? Can you take more business like that?
Yeah, we can scale. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're all busy. I keep adding guys at Fort Observer. You know, we just added another instructor at Gray Zone. So, yeah, we can scale to handle the load.
Awesome. Well, man, thanks for sitting down, and we'll definitely put all your links and everything. Where can people find you other than on YouTube?
Yeah, well, you know, our main website on the Intel production side is forwardobserver.com, and then we also have on the training side www.grayzoneactivity.com.
Is there anything people can buy from you?
Yeah, actually, I really wish that I had had this book published, but yeah, the Area Intelligence Handbook coming out at the end of this month.
And do you have merchandise also?
Yeah, so people can go to Gray Zone store and buy the book. And I have another book on intelligence published in 2015.
Got hats and patches and stickers.
No, that's kind of been the least priority of.
I get it.
But we need all that stuff. So yeah, we'll get it soon.
So
enough.
you don't have the secret squirrel. You know, if I told you I'd have to kill you, patches or
no, but we could do that.
You should do that.
Yeah.
Something. All right, man. Well, awesome. Thank you, and we will talk some more.
Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the.
Hey, leave it on. Any questions?
So I have to go to Tijuana, potentially. I don't know if I have to go. My sister is going for a medical procedure, and my wife is going to be here +1. If my wife goes, I've got to go. Flying to San Diego, go to Tijuana for a couple of days. What does that site survey look like?
Yeah, so we have had some like foreign requests. Here's a few things I would look at. Is number one, you know, identify your hotel or wherever you're going to be. Try to find crime data, and there's that being a border town, there may actually be like some decent sources there. But find the American expat community or American-owned businesses or whatever in there, and look for English speakers. Kind of, worst case scenario, it's like an E&E, like escape and evade kind of thing. And but I would say put your wife through some kind of situational awareness training, like keep her head on a swivel, because there are like some super gnarly, obviously real bad parts of TJ, but you also might get on the State Department website, because there may be some parts of that town where the State Department is already saying, hey, if you're just don't go here. So that's kind of low hanging fruit up front for you.